welcome. So we will get settled on the mat in this kneeling position, but instead of sitting on the heels with the toes or the backs of the feet on the floor, tuck your toes. Maybe a more difficult way to get comfortable on the mat, but I want you to stay here, and if it's very intense, then let the backs of the feet rest on the floor. But if you can keep toes tucked, rest hands onto your thighs, roll your shoulders up, pull them back, slide them down, and now close your eyes. So we just get into our yoga mindset, take awareness into the body and out of your head. So let the breath be your guide. Don't force your breath too much, but keep it deeper than what you usually would when you're busy with your everyday life. And I always recommend Ujjayi breathing, because Ujjayi acts as a constant reminder that the breath comes first. Yoga is a breathing practice, and we want to always keep it that way. Respect this ancient discipline. So as you feel yourself becoming more calm as the breath deepens, start with your Ujjayi. As you find a breathing pattern that works well for you, keep it that way throughout the class as you slowly open your eyes. We'll get hands onto the mat, so make your way into all fours. You can untuck the toes and you just enjoy the tops of the feet resting on the floor. Straighten the right leg, top of the foot on the mat. Straighten the left leg, getting into a plank shape, but we now resting tops of the feet onto the floor. You can push them down, push your chest away from the mat. Feel that you've got a nice, secure and solid grip on the mat with the hands. Make use of that. And then start to lift your hips a little bit to feel into the front parts of the ankles. You're working on the lower legs a little bit. So just feel the range of motion that you've got in this plantar flexion shape. And if it's too intense, then you obviously just bring the hips down a bit. So see what you can do. Work your way as close to a down dog as possible now. And then roll over your toes, taking it into a down dog, normal down dog. As you do a normal down dog, bend the left knee, straighten the right leg, and work the right heel down towards the floor. Change legs. Notice what happens when you stretch one leg in isolation. You might find the calf muscles getting a bit of a stretch, or it might simply be the entire hamstring of that leg. But just be aware of what you're feeling on the mat. And bring it back into a normal, traditional down dog stance. Bend knees, look up. Inhale, feet in between hands. Halfway lift. Exhale to a forward bend. You can get softness in the knees if the hamstrings feel tight. In breath, halfway lift. Plant hands. Get a good connection with the floor. Step or jump back and low down chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. But with the exhale, we take it back to chaturanga dandasana. Inhale. Into plank. Exhale down to chaturanga. We'll inhale back to plank. Exhale into chaturanga. And inhale back up into plank. Lifting your hips into a downward facing dog. Use inhalation to raise right leg. Exhale. Step right foot in between hands. As you get right foot between hands, place your back knee down. Get the top of the foot onto the floor. Both hands onto the knee. Inhale, lift in the chest. With the next inhalation, lock your back leg. So if it's too intense on the ankle, then you might want to keep the knee down. But if you can straighten the back leg, then don't simply feel like you want to get all your weight in the front foot. Feel that there's weight on the top of the back foot. Exhale to bring hands down. Match the left foot with the right foot as you step back and lower down chaturanga. Inhale to plank. Exhale chaturanga. Inhale to plank. Exhale, lift the hips, stretching the ankles, and then slowly roll over your toes into a traditional down dog. Inhale, raising left leg. Exhale, position foot in between hands. Bring your back knee down. Top of the foot onto the floor. Both hands onto knee. Lifting chest. Sink pelvis down. Next inhale, straighten your back leg. Just keep the breath nice and deep. Exhale, bring your hands down. Step the left foot back, top of the foot onto the mat. Lower down chaturanga. Inhale, plank. Exhale, chaturanga. In breath. Plank. Taking your hips up. Stretching ankles. And then roll over your toes into a normal down dog. Inhalation, raise your right leg. On exhale, step foot in between hands. Find your balance. First, spread the toes, grip the mat, and shift weight onto the front foot. As you come up, rest all your fingers gently on the right knee. Don't add additional weight onto the knee. The hands can act as a reminder to not hyperextend the front knee. Get length in your chest or your spine. Keep the left hip in line with the right hip. You're locking the back leg. Find a spot to focus on. See if it's possible to lift the heel off the mat. Slowly bring the heel down. As you get the heel down, start to bend into the grounding leg. So you're doing a squat, almost like the chair pose squat we were doing. Fingers just lightly resting on the knee. Bring your hands down. Frame the front foot and then reach to the back of the mat with the left foot, placing foot down with control. Step the right foot back, lower down chaturanga. In breath, upward facing dog. Exhale to down dog. Inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale. Position left foot between hands. Lift your toes, spread your toes, grip the mat. Shift weight onto the foot, floating back foot off the mat. Fingers on the knee. Once you feel that you've got the hips aligned, start to lift your left heel off the mat. Keep the breath deep, controlled, and unforced. Slowly bring the heel down. As you bring the heel down, start to squat down and hold. You're going to bring the hands down to the floor. Reach back with the right foot. Step foot back with control. Left foot back. Lower down chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale to down dog. Inhale to raise right leg. Exhale, foot in between hands. Place your back knee down. Get top of the foot onto the floor. Start to straighten the back leg. Use the next inhalation to take your arms up to ceiling. If it's a bit intense, keep the back knee on the mat. Exhale, hands down, bring the back knee down, tuck toes and then straighten to step back, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog, exhalation, down dog. Inhale, raising left leg. Exhalation, foot between hands, back knee down, top of the foot onto the mat, straighten the back leg, inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down. Back knee down, tuck toes, lock the leg, step back, chaturanga. Inhalation, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Bend into knees, look up. In breath, feet between hands. Halfway lift, but get hands onto your shins. Make sure that you're not hyperextending in the knees. Arch in the back. Getting length through your spine. Avoid pushing your hips back. Keep them in line with your heels. Spread the toes, grip the mat. Something you're not able to do in shoes. Exhale, forward bend. Softness in the knees. Use an inhale to slowly curl up into a standing position. Stepping wide on your mat. We'll first squat down to the back of the mat into Skandasana. So turn the toes out slightly. The front foot will turn out more as we squat down. But start to sink down, lifting the ball of the front foot off the mat. And then you get into your Skandasana position. Bring your hands down lift the heel off the mat. See if there's any way for you to turn the heel in more to get the toes to point more to the side. And you bring your heel down, hands together, and hold. If you struggle to get the heel down, don't worry too much. I'm going to see if it's possible to get the body to get all the way down onto the floor. As you do that, lift, activate, and come back up. Once again, make your way down onto the floor. Feel that it's passive and relaxed, and then activate, lifting back up. Straighten the arm that's pushing into the bent leg, and see if there's a way to push your knee further away from the body. So we're pushing it out to the side to open in the hips. If you feel an intense pull on the inner knee, then you can always get softness into the straight leg. Now bring hands back to prayer. We want to transition and shift weight over to the opposite leg, but you don't want to use your hands. So squat. Come all the way down, position your feet, and then you get into Skandasana. Bring your hands down. Get the heel off the mat. Turn the foot out slightly. So we're just getting the toes to point more to the side. Bring the heel down. Hold. You're going to slowly sit onto the mat, making your way down, and then activate by pushing back up. Feel the nice and active Skandasana, and experience the opposite by relaxing onto the mat. Coming back up. Working into the lower body here. You're going to straighten the arm that's pushing into the leg. Start to push the knee out to the side a bit more. Subtle adjustment will go a long way. And bringing hands back to prayer. We're going to shift weight to the center of the mat, so weight on both feet. Slowly squat and keep your chest parallel to the floor. Place both hands onto the knees. Start to push the knees away from one another. Reposition the feet if you have to. You want to have slight external rotation in the feet. As you push the knees apart, see if you can keep them this far apart. Bring your hands back to prayer. And use an inhale, lifting in the chest. Exhale. Bring your hands down to the floor. Get weight onto the hands. Heel toe the feet in so that you get into a Yogic Squat stance. Lower down. Bring hands to pray. In the Yogic Squat, in Malasana, shift a bit of weight from one side to the other. So nothing major, just shifting a little bit of weight around. And then turning from side to side. Opening up in the one hip, then opening up in the opposite hip. Just a little bit of movement. And bring it back to center. Activate through your legs. Pistol grip with the hands, Kali Mudra. Use an inhale to take your arms up. Keep pulling the knees apart. Exhale, bring your hands back to heart center. You can square off in the feet. Pistol grip the big toes. Take a nice deep in-breath. Exhale, forward bend into a wider stance than your traditional Skandasana. But the same principles apply. So we're pulling ourselves into a nice deep forward bend. Head can relax down. Use an inhalation. Halfway lift. Exhale, hands onto the waist and inhale. And making your way up into a standing position. Stepping to the front end of the mat. We'll keep the left foot on the floor first. Bring your right knee up, pulling knee into your chest as you interlace fingers. Now place the ankle on top of the left knee. Place right hand onto the knee, left hand onto the foot. As you start to squat down, keep the right knee in line with the foot, so you don't want to lift the knee up. And as you get into this sort of chair pose pigeon shape, bring arms alongside the body. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale, hinge in the hips, arch in the back. Get the upper body parallel to the floor. We're going to play with the lift. There's no need to extend the leg back into the full expression of the posture, but slide your triceps over the bent knee. Hook the left foot around the left tricep. As you position the hands down, this is if you can reach down. Then squeeze into the body, and as you do so, lift the bottom foot off the mat. You're just breathing, floating and holding, keeping the arms straight. Then place the foot back down and get back into that squat position with the body parallel to the floor. Inhale, lifting in the chest. Let's undo the legs. So when you do that final posture, you want to slide the arms as far down as possible. You don't want to get the elbows close to the shin. We'll get the right foot on the floor. Spread toes. Ankle on top. We get hand onto knee, hand onto foot, and you start to squat down. We bring the arms alongside the body. Nice deep inhale. Exhale. Hinge in the hips. Arch in the back. And leaning forwards with the chest and chin. Suppose keeping arms straight is the difficult one when it comes to the arm balance. But once you get sufficient core and shoulder activation, and it won't be as tricky. So you want to go for this final phase. Reach towards the floor. You want to place the hands onto the mat. Feel that the foot is gripping into the arm. And then you float your foot off the floor. The breath is deep. It's just another yoga posture. And you bring it down. And you make your way back up into the previous phase. So the arm balance is similar to what we're doing now. We use the breath, and it's just another yoga posture. Make your way back up. And then we get feet together into a mountain pose. Inhale, Skandasana, arms up. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhalation, halfway lift. Exhale, take it back and lower down, Chaturanga. In breath, up dog. Exhale, down dog. From our downward facing dog position, you can place your knees down and take a minute in child's pose. Use your inhale to come up, getting onto all fours. So in this all fours position, pretty gentle, fingers out to the sides, shifting a bit of weight around. And turning the fingers to point slightly back, not all the way, shifting a bit of weight around. And then fingers to point towards the knees, shifting weight around from side to side. See if you can turn the hands in a little bit more, side to side. And then bring the hands back into a neutral position. As you get your hands into a neutral position, tuck your toes, lifting hips. And bend knees, look up. Then use in-breath to make your way into seated. And as you get into a seated position, bring your legs out in front. Get the fingers to point away from the body. Hands slightly behind the shoulders. Point with the toes. Use an inhale, elevate the hips. Head in line with your spine. Exhale, lower your hips. As you come down, bring the forearms down onto the mat. Elbows below the shoulders, point with the toes. Inhale, lifting hips. Head in line with the spine. Exhale, bring it down. You can make your way back up to seated. This time around, flex the feet. Reach for the big toes, pistol grip. Make sure you don't turn the feet inwards, pushing the feet away from the body. Nice deep inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Paschimottanasana A. Inhale. Halfway lift and exhale, release the big toes. Keep the left leg straight. Bend the right leg. Get the knees as close together as possible. So we've got the right leg bent over the front leg or the straight leg. And then just lower down into a forward bend, keeping your front foot flexed. You can go as deep as you want in this one. Inhale, making your way up, straighten the right leg, bend the left, take it over. Hip still square, so you don't want to change the alignment of the body too much. We've got the foot in line with the hip. You can even hold onto the foot if you want, or just turn it into a forward bend. I find it to be quite an effective stretch for the lower legs, even though we're most definitely targeting the hamstrings as a whole. But flex the foot and feel that you're getting into the calf muscle area. I'm going to finish with a little bit of core, but controlled and unforced. You can use the inhale to make your way back up, straighten the left leg. Now with the core, I like to think of this more from a Kundalini perspective, where it's called stretch pose, this low boat sort of shape that you hold. Now, if you find that it's quite challenging to keep the arms alongside the body and you want to rather support getting the hands below the body, then be my guest. Just know that if you go with that option, you want to tilt your pelvis so that you can work the lower back close to the floor. That's still the idea. So if you're going with that option, then do that, but see if you can hold the posture with me and not get out of it. So let's lift, squeeze legs together. You can point or flex, or you can point and extend the toes, squeezing legs to the midline, lower back down towards the floor. And you feel your elbows slightly pushing into the mat. Hold. So the way we're going to be getting out of the posture is firstly by bringing the heels down, then the head down onto the mat, taking the arms from under the body. Now in this corpse pose position, for the first time in the practice, allow the breath to be natural. It's not a deeper, more controlled inhale and exhale. Allow the facial muscles to relax completely. Your eyes closed, shoulders drawn away from the ears, fingers curling in naturally. No tension in the lower back or pelvis area. You can even shake your legs a little bit, making sure you don't hold any tension in the lower body. And stay in this corpse pose for as long as you want.